Welcome to Non-Fiction Reviews. Dispatches is a visceral and immersive account of the Vietnam War, written by journalist Michael Herr. It is not a traditional history book or journalistic report, but rather a collection of vivid impressions, personal anecdotes, and fragmented reflections on the author's experiences during his time in Vietnam in the late 1960s. Herr's writing style is incredibly evocative and poetic, weaving together his observations of the war, the soldiers he met, and the landscape itself. He describes the surreal and nightmarish qualities of the conflict, as well as the psychological impact it had on the American troops, many of whom were only a few years older than the author himself. He captures the sense of confusion and disorientation that many of the soldiers felt, as they struggled to make sense of the war and the reasons behind it. One of the most striking features of Dispatches is the way Herr portrays the soldiers themselves. Rather than focusing on the politics or strategy of the war, he puts the soldiers and their experiences front and center. He portrays them as complex individuals, each with their own unique perspective on the conflict. He shows how they used humor, camaraderie, and other coping mechanisms to deal with the trauma and horror of war. Herr's prose is highly impressionistic and fragmented, with short, sharp sentences that reflect the chaotic and disorienting nature of the war. He mixes together different narrative modes, shifting between personal reflection, interviews with soldiers, and vivid descriptions of battles and other events. This gives the book a dreamlike quality, as if the author is trying to capture the essence of his experiences rather than just recounting the facts. Despite its focus on the American experience of the Vietnam War, Dispatches is also highly critical of American foreign policy and military strategy. Herr's account highlights the contradictions and hypocrisies of the war effort, as well as the toll it took on both the American soldiers and the Vietnamese people. He challenges the simplistic narratives that dominated public discourse at the time, which painted the war as a necessary fight against communism. Here are 5 takeaways from the book. 1. The psychological impact of war. Dispatches is not only a vivid and visceral account of the physical realities of the Vietnam War, but also a powerful exploration of the psychological impact of war on soldiers and civilians alike. Herr delves deep into the psyches of the soldiers he meets, describing the strange and often surreal mental states they experience, as well as the trauma and guilt that follows them home. 2. The power of language. As a journalist, Herr recognizes the power of language to shape perceptions and memories. He is acutely aware of the role that media and propaganda play in shaping public opinion about the war, and he is constantly questioning the language used to describe it. Through his writing, he seeks to subvert the official narratives and offer a more complex and nuanced view of the conflict. 3. The importance of storytelling. Dispatches is a testament to the power of storytelling as a means of processing and making sense of traumatic experiences. Herr's vivid, poetic prose is not only beautiful to read, but also serves as a vehicle for conveying the emotional and psychological impact of war in a way that traditional journalism cannot. 4. The disconnect between the front lines and home. One of the recurring themes in Dispatches is the disconnect between the soldiers fighting the war and the people back home. Herr is acutely aware of this divide, and he writes about it with both sadness and anger. He is frustrated by the lack of understanding and empathy for the soldiers' experiences, and he is keenly aware of the contrast between the chaos and horror of the war and the mundane, everyday lives of the people back home. 5. The futility of war. Dispatches is ultimately a powerful indictment of war and its futility. Herr does not shy away from the horrors and atrocities of the conflict, nor does he romanticize the soldiers who fight it. Instead, he offers a stark and unflinching portrayal of the human cost of war, and a passionate plea for peace and understanding. Overall, Dispatches is a powerful and haunting account of war and its impact on individuals and society. It is not just a historical document, but a work of literature that captures the essence of a particular moment in time. Herr's writing is both beautiful and brutal, and he leaves the reader with a sense of the complexity and tragedy of the Vietnam War. If you are interested in the Vietnam War or in war writing more generally, Dispatches is a must-read. It is a deeply immersive and affecting book that will stay with you long after you finish reading it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content on non-fiction. Let us know in the comments what other non-fiction books you like to see on our channel.